Have you ever wondered how to build a boat in brickrigs? Well, a subscriber has been asking me that question, so in this video we are going to answer that question. So here's the first thing I would like to say about brickrigs water. It's basically toned up brickrigs air. So how the fluid dynamics work in the water, under the water, works the same way air would, just like exponentially increased. I'll give you an example on the screen. So it's basically buoyant air from what I can understand and what some of my fellow brick riggers have connected and observed. So it's kind of like the boat is just floating, not just, but it's floating on a expanse of thick air. But with that out of the side, I just think it's super interesting. Let's build a boat. So in brick rigs, you gotta go to fire and water and get this thing called a float block. But it's not just as simple as getting a float block and like what this is and slapping a propeller on it or whatever this is and an engine and some weight distribution and it's just a slab really. It takes a little bit of weight, otherwise it flips out. So I make this out of steel. So let's just start from scratch here and build a boat. And there we are. Here's my boat. So funny thing with scale in the editor now, things can get so small that you can't, like, if you don't have a scale for like a reference point, things can get absurdly small. I thought this was like the size of at least like a sailboat, but it's like the size of a kayak. I just find that funny. But you can see this is floating and it's kind of tilting. What's weird is only the float blocks give buoyancy. The green blocks don't do anything really. They're just for looks. All I'm really on right now is, it's green too. Okay. Hide is this. So if I were to, this is like the only thing that matters. And that's why it's tilting, because there's not much stability on each side. And it's kind of realistic because, this is like a rounded, this would be slightly unstable with the mast so high up on the kayak. So if I just Alt-H, hide. No, I wanted to delete. And voila. We are floating. Just, oh my goodness. Just like, the thing. I guess that's all you really need to know. You just put a float block and you start adding things to it cosmetically until you get where you want to be. You can move the float block up or down inside the hole to make it sit higher in the water or lower in the water, or add more weight or less weight. Let's look at a couple examples of boats I've made. I actually made a tutorial on how to make this, but I think that's slightly outdated. This does work though. See, it's more buoyant than it used to be. This is just the basics of what a boat can be. The core of this is just a slab of a float block. And the way I make steering is just a stick off the back with a steering wheel block with a propeller on it. You see, that just, kind of does its thing right there. It's really quite simple. And then I have a basic rudder that also uses a steering system. It just hooks those two blocks together, which would be even simpler now because we have new axle blocks that are much more small, like this. And you can just connect that to a tiny little axle, and that steers just like a wheel would. And I have mirror mode on. But you get my point. So without further ado, let's finish up the boat. I'm making that little kayak for example's sake and for fun's sake. It's fun to watch.
Not gonna happen.
So actually scratch that, everything I just said, because I actually did not save my kayak. So let's check out this boat. Oh boy. I tried to make this one like somewhat realistic. As you can see, it still uses the steering block thingy. And it's just got a thruster attached to the steering block. Oh boy. But as you can see, if you add weight, or this thing's super light, it just kind of flips out of the water. And you can see what I mean with kind of the air buoyancy thing. Oh boy. Oh, okay. Like it behaves like water, but it kind of doesn't at the same time, which is all right. Let's use a few like examples of how you can use a float block. So I'm just gonna grab this and spawn it. As you can see, the thick air is definitely affecting it and how slow it falls, but it doesn't have any buoyancy. Like the aerodynamic thing is in effect because it's falling. As you can see, it gets affected by the thick water, but it doesn't float because it doesn't have a buoyancy block. So I'm just gonna go into the editor and add a buoyancy block to it. Alright, here we go. We are ascending from the depths of the ocean floor. Alright, where is the surface? I don't know how this thing is running underwater. In almost every other game, like, it seems like engines don't do that. So we are now a floating vehicle car. And yeah, that should be a little basic 101 on how to build a boat in brickrigs. There's one more thing I want to show you guys while I'm here, and I think it's really fun. You can see this is already kind of floating. I did shove a float block in it somewhere, but it can make for really realistic plane wrecks and stuff, like water landings. It's actually a lot of fun. Uh-oh. As you can see here, it's already kind of happening. Can I please pull up? And I just locked my camera. A lot of people don't know how to do this in brickrigs. You can actually lock the camera to make it way easier to fly a plane, so it's not like this, you know? A lot of people, like, I see videos and they're like struggling to fly the plane because the camera's not locked. And now, there we go, it's way easier. So, I bet you're wondering about this plane. It's a one I built recently. I've never built a plane in brickrigs 1.0 and onward. So, anyways, enough yapping. Let's see what happens here. Watch this. Doing. See what I mean about like the enhanced fluid dynamics? Like it just like So I'm gonna just land nicely on the water. Look at that. It's beautiful. And you can just kind of sit on here, and then my plane will, oh no, it's starting to sink. Oh dear. That's not too good. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not just kind of epic, it just kind of sunks down in there. Bye-bye. Well, with that, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any other suggestions for building tutorials in brickrigs, DM me on my Discord, or leave a comment down below. Thank you, and bye-bye.